This week, we have one of those shows that we watched just because we wanted to watch it. And afterwards, we thought,
this is a fun one.
This would be good for the show one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we put it in the queue.
We did. And then we got to it eventually.
Finally. Yep. Finally got to it. It's,
that's the speed at which we get to everything that's on our list. Eventually.
Well, I mean, it's a big list.
It is a big
list. And, trying to decipher through everything. And sometimes it's a mood thing.
Yeah.
We try to break it up. We don't want 6 solid straight months of horror films. That kind of, we'll watch 6 straight months worth of horror films.
Yeah.
But, this is all movies and we want to, keep it balanced.
We want to give love to all movies.
Yeah. Plus we want to talk to people.
Isn't this a horror though?
This one?
Yeah.
Yes. That's irrelevant to the point that I was making. We have,
of course.
There. Oh, you made me knock something over. I'm all flustered now.
Oh no!
Crushed my eloquent point that I was making.
Sorry.
No, you're not. But that's okay. So anyway, we had some fun talking about this. It's a fun movie. Just by itself, it's just a fun watch. But we cover a lot of things that, it brought to the table. Some good lessons. Also, how to take something old and tired and
make it hot and fresh.
Yeah, without making it so far out, it borders on tedious.
Yeah, without making it obnoxiously weird.
Yeah, without going full art film on something. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. We had fun with this one.
I always have fun with British comedies.
Spoiler.
It's a horror. We said it was a horror.
Yeah,
Could it possibly also be a British comedy?
No, it's just fun doing that. It's in the fucking title.
Who knows?
It's in the fucking title.
Who knows?
Of the episode.
Yeah.
Every episode. If somebody comes in.
I love how we pretend like it's a secret until we reveal the title of the movie.
Well, and that's how it's going to be forever. That's what I'm saying. If somebody comes in and they're like, good God, I didn't see that coming.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, man. Okay. We do know some people like that though.
I'm like that.
No, you're far more observant than some of these chowderheads out there.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
but okay.
Okay. Well, should we roll into this bad boy and do some talking?
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey there, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Danny.
And this is Jim.
And today we have a pretty fun one with some big names.
We do.
Yeah. This has been kind of on our list for a while. We stumbled across it. It's not going to work. You're not going to make me laugh.
You're trying so hard. Avoiding eye contact, smart.
Yeah. I just won't look at you.
Anyway.
We don't have our mood lighting on today.
Oh, well, we can fix that while you explain what you were going to explain.
Well, usually we start with a little bit of, personal news and stuff. You know what delighted me this week?
What?
He says, away from the microphone. That's fine.
What?
What delighted me this week was discovering that little shop that is the little gifts and tea shop.
Oh, the little import shop?
Yes. That is a tea room. And that I can go and have high tea with Lily, which is just, it warms the cold cockles of my heart.
Well, it's only been, what, 9 years we've been wondering what that place is.
I've been wondering it. I don't think you ever wondered once.
I was curious, but, obviously never enough to go. We've driven by it, 10,000 times.
Yeah. It's adorable. And knowing that there's somewhere we can do just like this nice little, mother-daughter thing is a nice thing. That was something that made me happy this week.
Indeed. You know what made me happy?
Getting your baby back.
Yes. Oh my God. So last week, folks, my computer had an issue and had to send it in.
Had an oops.
Yes. Although, to be fair, right, I took it, when did I take it in? Was it Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, took it in Friday and got it back yesterday. So it went all the way to Texas and came back, all fixed and everything. But, so first of all, I had to cruise a few days with my backup, which is my old 2012 MacBook Pro, which is fine. It just doesn't have all the stuff, right? And then get it back yesterday, and I'm like, all right, let's hook this bad boy up, hook up my backup drive, let's do a restore. And of course, it freezes like 3/4 of the way through. Like, all right. Start it all over, froze again, exact same spot. So now I'm facing a fucked up drive, potentially.
Yeah.
So let's see. It was going all the way until we went to bed last night. I was in here jack shitting around and doing diagnostics on the drive, pushing this, forcing that, da-da-da-da-da. Let it run. Woke up this morning. It completed. The drive was repaired. And then spent all day doing all that nickel and dime shit, especially so we could do this, because this plugin won't work. This plugin won't work.
Right.
Got to go do this. Got to find this. Got to find the original. Oh, my God. So my happiness came in stages. And earlier today, I was super happy. It's all done. I've got one thing to do, which has nothing to do with anything, maintenance on the external drives, because I've been swapping stuff back and forth and changing the partition format and everything. But anyway, good stuff. Good stuff.
And we're able to record.
Well, yes, we are. And we could have on the other one. I just don't like doing that because it's just a whole thing. Interestingly enough, another little note. So this week, today, because we're recording a couple days late, so we're actually recording Tuesday instead of Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's new episode release day.
Yes.
And what episode released today?
Toxic Avenger.
That's right. And what did we find out 2 days ago?
They're making a new one.
Yep. Wish we'd have had that bit of info for the episode.
When we recorded that episode 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So anyway,
okay.
Yeah.
We unintentionally timed it just super well. Maybe we'll get a lot of new followers.
We've gotten a lot of responses on that.
Oh, really?
I told you, this thing is a bona fide cult classic. I mean, this is what defined cult classic. We've had like Rocky Horror Picture Show. We've had a lot of stuff in the years before, plenty of stuff. But this started a train unlike any other. I mean, this is like not even Troll 2 has something like this.
I mean, I think the Toxic Avenger was one of the first so bad it's good, movies in that kind of thread.
Kind of, yeah. And just after the aftermath, the whole Tromaverse, right? It's not just a movie that's a cult classic. It's that whole thing. There's a whole following, so a reboot, I suppose, you think sometimes inevitable, but I'll be the first to say.
I didn't see it coming.
I would never have seen it coming for Toxic Avenger. Not at this level.
No.
So it'll be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, if Peter Dinklage is in it, I don't know how they finagled this, but there's maybe 5 people in the whole world who could make me want to see the remake. And Peter Dinklage is one of them.
Well, we will see anything with him in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, I think that's it for our info. My woe, your joy.
Yes.
For the last week. Nope, never mind. I don't know I have no idea. It came and went.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this week we have something that should be a cult classic.
I found this so charming the first time we saw it, and I knew that I wanted to cover it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that we watched because we looked and we're like, ooh,
oh,
well,
look at all these people.
Yeah. And so we gave it a watch and we enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided at one point to put it on the list.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. And we got to it.
The time has come.
The time has come.
To talk about this movie.
Yeah, because it's a lot of fun. And it's just jam-packed with names.
Oh, fantastic talent names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about it?
Why don't I tell us about it?
I just said that. That was my idea.
So this week we are doing Eat Locals. I have a little thing about that title when we get to the end of this. It was done in 2017, directed by Jason Flemyng, writer Danny King, starring, now hold on folks.
Hold on to your butts.
Freema Agyeman, Adrian Bauer, Billy Cook, Charlie Cox, Mackenzie Crook, Eve Miles, Tony Curran, Dexter Fletcher, and Annette Crosby.
And more.
And more.
Yes.
Those were the ones we decided to go with. It was actually rated TVMA.
Right, because it was a direct-to-TV.
Yeah, so it should have had a theatrical release. Oh my God, this thing would kill.
Well, it went to film festivals and did really well.
Yeah, but I mean, like, out in the world.
Yeah.
Budget was $1.5 million. And here is the plot. Facing difficult times and with their glory days long gone, the 8 undisputed British vampire overlords gather up for their semi-centennial meeting. However, before the break of dawn, there will be blood and corpses. Lots of them. And that's pretty good.
This logline makes this movie sound like an epoch.
Yeah. A bit of a spoiler. It did not fail to deliver on that.
No, it's
at all.
Fucking wonderful.
Oh man. So there's some notes on this bad boy.
Some facts.
Yeah, Freema Agyeman, Tony Curran, Eve Miles, and Annette Crosby all appeared on Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah. And Eve, she appeared on Doctor Who, and then she went on to do Torchwood.
Yeah.
As a completely different character, as they are wont to do on Doctor Who. There are plenty of people who starred in an episode or guest starred.
Yeah.
As one thing or another, and then showed up much later as something completely different.
Well, that's the really interesting thing about the cast of this movie is I got the sense that they all kind of run in each other's circles because there are also other crew reunions as part of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The whole crew of Lock, Stock was back in. Actually, Jason Statham, who was in Lock, Stock, served as an AD on this movie.
Nice.
And also the crew of Stardust. So these are all people who have worked together before. They all have really good chemistry. They obviously have lots of fun together.
Which is, I love when this happens.
Yeah.
When people act in these little circles. And curiously enough, it happens more over in the UK than here because they have such a smaller circle. I mean, everybody is on BBC for one thing or another.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then they meet one another. And yes, they have like Acorn and, Studio 4.
Sky.
Yeah. But it's such a small entertainment. It's very different than our Hollywood structure. So it's not uncommon to see people working together. I mean, we look at things like Black Books.
Yeah.
Right. And, we're like, oh, and then they're over here and then they're over here and then they're over here. It's wonderful. I love because you can see it and smell it like right through the screen that there's a lot going on here,
Yes.
And I don't think it's just having fun. I think it also has to do with like a level of trust. You work with someone often enough, where you can go and where they'll pick you up. You know what I mean? It's like a trust fall.
That's absolutely true. It's why you find in a lot of films, like a lot of films will have repeat casts between them and repeat crew between them because a team kind of builds up a crew and then you know and trust those people, and you want to work with them in everything that you do.
Yes.
You know, that's why you find like the Whedon gang, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, a lot of repeating actors and crew members and writers and, you know the Raimi gang,
yeah.
right?
What was I going to say? I was going to say it also goes to like the director.
Absolutely.
So like, when Whedon comes up with something, he's got a go-to list of people, right? Now, that is saying lately, who knows anymore? Because there's been...
Well, I don't know who's willing to work with.
I don't know who's willing to work with. I honestly can't keep score anymore. I don't know who's good or who's bad in Hollywood anymore. I don't know who's, fucked up 50 years ago and getting called out for it, who fucked up yesterday and is getting called out for it. It's, it gets to a point where it's wearing. You know what I mean?
It's like following the worst soap opera.
It really is.
That ever there was. Yeah.
What is it? Ellie Kemper? The whole thing with she growing up was part of some like white supremacist thing in Texas. Surprise, right? As a kid and as a teen, I mean, you just
Glenn Close grew up in a cult,
right? If what they did back then is not who they are now, you need to just back the fuck off,
right?
With all this, I know this is a huge aside here, but it just is, enough. Anyone listening who has anything to do with a blog or anything, shit throwing to make headlines, just stop. I think we've had enough, unless somebody has actually done something now, right?
Yeah.
Then just leave it be. Leave it be.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't matter if somebody's parents were neo-Nazis. Are they a neo-Nazi? Are they doing anything? Have they done anything so horrible in the past that we can't look beyond it? Right? Anyway.
Yeah.
I will end my commentary there.
Well, I think there is a perception that comes, so people who are not celebrities, I would say the public, the general public,
fair,
feels that celebrities owe them all the details of their personal lives and everything they've ever done, and everything gets put up for public scrutiny when, I don't begrudge a celebrity for wanting to have a private life.
No, I agree. And I've said before, when you become a celebrity, this is what's going to happen. You can't get pissy about it. You have to accept it. But you can do what some smart celebrities do and just be very guarded. Right? I mean, there are celebrities who we've not seen their kids.
Oh, right.
They're very adamant about that. They don't mention them. They don't accept questions about them.
Right.
In interviews and stuff, which is, laudable. I mean.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You can do those things. But if you're going to become a multimillionaire for playing make-believe, you're going to have to understand the people who have made you that, your fans, are going to get excessive.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's not saying they have a right to.
One of my favorite little stories about celebrities, like passive aggressively putting off paparazzi, is Danny Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Very famously wore the same exact clothes every day for weeks and weeks and weeks so that the paparazzi following him around couldn't get fresh pictures.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's genius.
Oh, it's so smart.
I mean, paparazzi, though, that's a whole different thing.
It is.
We're talking about fans. Yeah, the fucking paparazzi needs to just go. Anyway,
back to this.
Yeah, there's some more interesting tidbits.
Yeah, so back to Eat Locals, which, I just love this thing. So the original title for this movie was Reign of Blood, and it was changed on director Jason Flemyng's suggestion to Eat Local. The original movie poster designer added a splash of blood that looked vaguely like the letter S to the end of local, making it locals. So then the producers officially adopted Eat Locals as the title.
And that caused us a bit of confusion and conversation because we had the original poster.
Yeah.
It says Eat Local, and it's got those weird blood splotches. And I think maybe it was a bad render of it too, because it didn't even look remotely like an S.
Right.
Right. And, and then we're like, but it says eat locals. And this is on Amazon Prime, who famously, everyone knows Amazon Video, right? Famously fucks up movie titles.
Constantly.
The placards that go with them, the graphics, and more often than not, who knows what they can do. I mean, it's like a game. What do we have today when we read the description of a movie?
Yeah.
You know, it's just all over the place. So.
Yeah, because we watched this on Amazon Prime, we were like, what is then the title?
Right. Yeah. How do we label the episode? What do we call it?
Yeah. Also, this movie was Jason Flemyng's directorial debut. So, well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was solid.
Well directed. Do you know about the Wilhelm Scream?
I do know about the Wilhelm Scream.
Do you want to tell us?
I think you should tell us, because it's like your rosy note. So.
Well, okay. So this is in the trivia on IMDb about this, is that the classic Wilhelm Scream is used in this film. The Wilhelm Scream is in the public domain, and it has been since 1951, basically, because it was in a Nothing Burger movie made in 1951, a little B movie or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. I did know it. I prepared, and then I forgot.
That's fine.
And this Scream, you might not know what it is by its name, but it has been used in well over 400 films and TV series since 1951.
Yep.
This Scream has been in almost as many films as Danny Trejo.
I know, yeah. Almost.
Just about. Including your favorite movies.
Yeah. Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I know exactly the scene, and I know the stormtrooper that has had the Wilhelm Scream applied to him.
Yes.
Indiana Jones, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you give us a little taste of Wilhelm screaming?
The Wilhelm Scream. It is a 1-second sound clip, but you will recognize it because you've heard it before 400 times.
That's it, folks.
That's the scream.
That's it. Now, when you've heard it, they might have applied like an echo to it, obviously some depth. Yeah. You know, it has to fit the environment, but that is the scream that's been in so many things. And we've watched movies, and also we're like, oh, Wilhelm.
Yes. When you're a film nerd, you notice these things. There are other things that are used in lots of movies too.
Oh yeah, there's so much stuff. But the Wilhelm Scream, for fans of it out there, here you go. We have it in this. Rocket. All right. So why don't you start telling us about this movie? And let's do some stuff.
I can do that. So we start in a farmhouse with a round dining table. It's not big, but there are a lot of chairs around it. And a man enters. He drops a newspaper on the table and he sits. Then a little while later, an old woman enters and she settles in. And then wordlessly, like no one is saying anything to anyone.
Right. This is it's a nice, long, silent setup.
A young woman enters and sits near the window. The old lady pulls out her knitting and starts knitting. 3 more guys enter. And one of them sets this back scratcher looking thing on the table.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I've had a bug bite on my back that's been real itchy.
I called it I think I called it a wand of some kind. Yeah. A large wand looking thing. I love that you identified it as a back scratcher.
It looks like a back scratcher.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to argue.
And everyone is silent. It's like they're all waiting. And then there's a noise, and it's the little grandfather clock has started whining. And then we see an armed man sprinting through the woods. And he hides behind a tree for a moment, and then he's sprinting again. And he's talking on the radio, and they're counting. And he hears a noise, but it's just a fox. And then we're at a train station. So we're kind of going through all these like different setup-y things. There's a young guy in a man bun who is waiting outside the train station. He's got a duffel bag and he pulls a beer out of his duffel bag.
Yeah.
And starts drinking it. And then suddenly there's two kids sitting next to him and they start giving each other a little bit of shit. So back to the woods guy, and he's surveying a farmhouse. And he sees a one-armed man. Oh, no. He sees one-armed man.
What?
No, it's not a one-armed man.
No.
That'd be cool. No, he sees an armed guy patrolling outside, and the guy's got sunglasses on.
Mm-hmm.
And as he walks around, we see that it's our farmhouse with the round table. So inside, they seem to be discussing business. This is the guy, the old woman, the men, and they're like talking millions and territories and feeding. And the first time I watched this movie, I didn't read the description. But they're just talking about like how people in the world and feeding and their different territories. And it's just a little like it's insidery, shop talky kind of stuff. So back at the bus stop, the kids are giving shit to the guy, and he tells the kids that he's an orphan, and they sucker him into giving them a quid. And a car pulls up, and he gives this beer to the kids, which I thought was great after realizing that they suckered him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets in the car, and it's a woman with dark lipstick, and they take off. So then back at the farmhouse, they're discussing setting their own quotas and something about a council.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, Peter, thinks that they should be feeding more because, like, there's a bunch more people now in the world. And there's some argument just because there are more people doesn't mean they can feed more. Like, people are tracked better now. You can't just, kill people willy-nilly.
Right. 150 years ago, you could make 1,000 people randomly across the countryside go missing and almost no one would hear about it.
Right.
Except those directly involved. Right.
One
One person goes missing today and the whole fucking world sees it on Twitter.
Yes.
So it makes it a little rougher.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So they actually, in this conversation, they touch on a couple of hot button political issues. A little Brexit is in there. So this is, and we kind of end this little conversation with Peter saying that he's not racist. He'll kill anyone.
Right.
And then we get a quick shot of Woods guy. Not much there. And then back inside, two of the people are accusing one of them. He's a curly-haired guy. So these are all the vampire overlords. They're accusing him of overfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And taking his victims young. And he is trying to get support from Peter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's been talking. And one of them throws down the newspaper article that's got some news about young boys missing. And Peter is like, no, I don't have your back on this, dude. I'm not your friend in this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my man. So they all corner the curly-haired guy, and then the sunglasses guard who was outside comes in and shoots him, which was just to immobilize him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stake him.
Right. And the whole thing, I just want to jump back on that a little bit. I love that there's a lot of vampire movies out there.
Yeah.
Right. And I love when they have these formal, like, bits of reality.
Yes.
Were there a vampire society? These are things they would have to talk about. And I loved how, Peter's like, well, that's he's my friend, but dude, taking kids, getting in the headlines draws attention.
Yeah.
That can kill us, expose us and then kill us. Friendship doesn't go that far.
Well, and I think, for Peter, it was also specifically about it being young boys, young children, because he was like,
well, that's what, yeah. So, young kids.
Yeah.
They're not, that's against the rules. And it has the ramifications of that becomes a bigger news article. Someone who goes missing who's 35, 1 or 2 days, and then nobody gives a shit anymore, right? Except for the people directly involved. Kids, that shit was like, putting something on the internet. It's forever.
Right.
We
have rules in our society, and these rules are designed to protect us.
Yeah.
You can't just go breaking the rules.
Control yourself, man.
Yeah. And from outside, the woods guy has seen it all, right?
Right.
He's been watching this. And then we see one of the vampires. He was the first one that walked in with the newspaper. His name is Henry. He is opening a door in the farmhouse and like dumping the dead vampire's dusty clothes pile down some stairs to what we can only assume is the basement.
Right.
And he shuts the door.
Yeah. Just quick. Gets rid of them. So, and I love that too.
Yes.
The whole thing about vampires, they're united in what they are for survival, but they just mostly couldn't give a shit about one another.
Oh, they're not friends.
No. And I love it when they do that in films. It's not this tight, close bond,
right?
Like, fucking CW shows and stuff. It's like, I could give a shit.
We're not friends. We tolerate each other.
We're not friends.
We understand that it's necessary.
Yeah. Well, like when brothers become vampires,
right?
It all goes away. You become a different being with a different set of priorities. Then we cut to some headlights coming down a dirt road, and we see it's the woman from the train station and train guy. Seems he's meeting up with her for a sexual rendezvous.
Woo woo.
Yeah. Why not? So they get to the house. Sunglasses meets them. The woman who introduces the train guy as Sebastian. They get out, and Sunglasses goes to park the car. Inside, the old woman and the young woman who are in there, they're cleaning up after the staking. And then Peter says, "Oh no." And
when they walk in, yeah.
Yeah. The older one says he knows the rules. 1 in or 1 out, 1 in. So the old man introduces himself as the Duke. And then Henry asks if Sebastian is the gypsy boy. The young woman who was helping clean up, her name is Angel, and the old woman is Alice. Sebastian tells them to get gloves, get some bloody gloves after he shakes their hands because they're vampires. Their hands are cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all sit, and then Sebastian sits, and he falls over in his chair because it's the one with the leg missing that they ripped off to stake the other curly hair guy. So, he says he'll just wait in the car. Henry stops him and has him sit at the table, and the Duke goes on to say that they have a proposition for him. Says they have always been 8, and Angel says there is a space.
Right.
So we know what's going to happen. They want to turn Sebastian. Now, out in the woods, we see some, we see some military trucks rolling down a dirt road. In one of them, a soldier is calling for a team on the radio, getting nothing. Next to him is an officer, you can tell by his sweet beret,
yes,
who says to be patient. The Vatican has waited for years. A few temporal minutes won't matter. So then the first soldier pulls out a rosary.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
When he's radioing the team on the radio.
Yes.
I didn't want to put this in my notes because I didn't want to be wrong, but I thought he was calling the A team. Like I thought he was calling this team A team. A team, come in.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And I was like, A team?
Dun, 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 dun.
Mr. T?
Well, sadly, George Peppard is not in this.
No.
So anyway, the soldier pulls out a rosary, and I will refer to him henceforth as Rosary.
Excellent.
So right away, you get the feeling this isn't your normal paramilitary Black Ops group. This is something a bit different. So back in the house, they are trying to delicately make their offer. Sebastian is just not catching on. Peter says the boy is an idiot. Alice loses her cool and shows her vampire face. And Sebastian thinks she's a zombie. And they're like, what? The woman didn't tell him what they were, wanted to leave it a surprise. Then he finally gets it. They vote whether to make Sebastian a vampire. Everyone votes yes, except for Peter. The Duke tells Sebastian he apologizes. It's not a unanimous vote, so he won't be let in. And then we learn the woman who brought Sebastian, her name is Vanessa. The Duke tells Vanessa the boy is her responsibility. She's upset because she's researched Sebastian extensively, and he's a full-on gypsy blood. Goes back 12 generations, right? So apparently everyone thought it'd be a good idea to let him in.
Sure.
Except for Peter. So she goes to him and tells him to close his eyes, and he tries to lie to her. She calls him out. He starts to rummage through stuff, ends up with a poker and a fireplace scoop.
Yes.
To defend himself. He makes the sign of the cross with them, and Peter just laughs.
Like a full belly laugh.
Yeah, he just like, oh my God. He gives Vanessa a terrible slam on the face, which cuts her, and then of course it heals up right after he runs out. So outside, the soldier is watching the house still. He's joined by the officer from the truck. Says there's been a lot of screaming, and he asks where the backup is, and all of a sudden a dozen soldiers just pop up out of
it's great,
as close as 3 feet from him. Whoosh! They just erupt from the fauna.
Yes.
Or the flora. Fauna. They erupt from the deer.
Yes.
Oh man. So inside, Sebastian has locked himself in a room. I love this. He runs and tries to jump through a large window and just bounces off of it.
Yes.
It recoils back onto the floor. Vanessa breaks a hole through the door, trying to get to him. Sebastian opens the window and leaps out. The soldiers see him and then say he's not their target. And then we cut back to Sebastian. He's knocked to the ground by sunglasses. He offers to fight him, which is sort of sad.
That's cute.
And we got back to the soldiers, and they're using thermal scopes, and they can see sunglasses is cold and Sebastian is warm. So they know something's up. Then Peter shows up behind Sebastian, knocks him out. He then notices movement in the woods. He in sunglasses, whose name is Chen.
Yes.
And I can't remember. Do I call him? I think I end up calling him Chen.
Yeah.
Sunglasses. They go have a look. And I love this part. It's these little details in vampire films that make a world of difference. So there's this reflective light in their eyes, like any woodland animal that can see in the dark. You get that reflector, like owl's eyes or wolf's eyes.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like wolf eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not all the time.
Right.
Right. It's like they're using like Superman in his X-ray vision. Right. They're vampire vision, and then you see their eyes, and then that. I just thought that was awesome because it's done an awful lot.
It is really cool.
And it's a little thing, and it just makes a huge difference in the buy-in.
Well, and the feel, and the tone of the film.
Yeah.
So back inside, they have Sebastian in a chair, and he's tied up. And the angel pours vase water over him.
Yeah.
And she grabs his head, and she's about to snap his neck. And Vanessa, almost a little panicked.
Right.
Because she doesn't want Sebastian to die. She's put a lot of fucking effort into this guy.
Yes.
Vanessa's like, wait, we shouldn't waste a meal. And Angel's like, oh, good point.
Yeah, how often you get a free eat like this,
right? He's gonna die anyway.
Yep.
So outside, the military are arguing about whether they should take out the two targets they saw outside, which was Chen and Peter, since they didn't know that there was more than one originally.
Right.
Right. And then we're back inside, and just as Angel is about to bite Sebastian, the military busts in.
Yes.
And the squad leader, as they open the door, and they all kind of freeze. Everyone freezes.
Yeah, soldiers freeze, the vampires freeze. Sebastian, he's just like,
It's this terribly awkward moment. And the squad leader for the military radios, we have a problem. once he realizes what it is that he's seeing. And Henry, who is played by Charlie Cox, who is just fantastic in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. And for those who don't know the name to associate it with the face, Daredevil from Netflix, the series. Yep, yeah. He is Matt Murdock.
Yeah, or he was that jerky Duke on Downton Abbey in the first season.
Oh yeah, the Dick Duke.
Yeah. So Henry says, "You have no idea," and turns out the lights. And a lot of screaming and bullets later. Oh, that was a weird thing that my soundboard did.
Yeah, it was.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Try that again.
Ooh, that's new. Anyway.
Weird.
So a lot of screaming and bullet fire later. It's clear that the squadron is all gone. And the military now knows there is more than two.
Yes. Yes.
Definitively, more than two. So in the fray inside, the Duke has been staked, but it's like enough that they're able to kind of do this weird little kind of goodbye with him.
Yeah, which, it's not a sticking point, but again, vampire, it's like, I know, Vampire Diaries did this a lot.
Yeah.
Just miss the heart or just graze the heart. Don't move it. Got to be very careful. It's right. It's like, so how much wood into how much of the heart is like the do it, and then you have like Angel, where a number 2 pencil could, if you can chest stab enough, it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, yeah, it was like mostly there, but
it is what it is. The Duke's dead now.
Yeah.
And the Peter asks who gets his territory. Peter, just right away. So who gets his territory? And they all just kind of stare at him.
And he's like, too soon?
And the Duke, it seemed, was kind of like the leader-ish. He was the patriarch of this group, in a sense.
I think clearly the oldest, not
right,
just in human years, because he was the oldest, but
like not necessarily in charge, but the one that they all kind of deferred to.
Right, he'd been around a lot longer.
Yeah,
knew more versed in the council and all that stuff.
So outside, the military has set up a camera or a timer of something. They set this thing up in the fence and they keep referencing it, but I don't fully know what it is. Looks like a camera.
It's a camera, and they end up linking to it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
Oh, yeah, because they can't be too close to the house.
Right.
Yeah.
And, scopes can only get you so far, so they snuck up and planted that thing, so they got an up close, and then it beams the signal back.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Inside, all the vampires are like hiding. They're kind of ducking under the windows and stuff because they know that there's military outside, and they're listening to one of the radios from the downed soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And the military almost immediately is like, oh shit, they have one of the radios. This channel is compromised. Like Rosary is trying to set up a plan, and the other military guy who's butting up against, the colonel. The colonel is like, they have a fucking radio. Switch to another channel.
Yeah, you just broadcast all that on a compromised channel to the enemy.
Yes. So then the vampires are arguing about what to do, and Sebastian tries to wriggle his way out of the room, but he gets caught.
I love that. Yeah, he's like, he's doing the mud crawl with his elbows.
Yes.
And Angel looks down, going somewhere? He's like,
So inside, they agree not to kill Sebastian just yet, because they might be able to use him as leverage in this whole military thing. So Henry says that he'll put Sebastian downstairs with the others. Yeah. And we're like, oh? So while tying up Sebastian downstairs in the basement, Henry introduces the Thatchers, who are sitting there, and they have bags, like burlap bags over their heads that say "Eat Local."
Yeah.
They are the owners of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes the bags off their head. And it's like, here's the Thatchers. They own this place.
And they're gagged.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the Thatchers are clearly not happy with this whole situation.
They are not.
As, one might expect.
Right.
So we see the military are watching again, and they are trying to figure out what's going on inside the building because they see a cold body, and it's in a weird position, and there's like another cold body. And we find out inside it's Angel who's eating one of the dead soldiers.
Yeah, in the doorway.
Yeah. And Peter comes up and makes a comment about how that's in bad taste. And she's like, I'm fucking hungry. And some bullets start flying through the window. And we see, so fire has opened on this farmhouse. And then from out of the front door comes little old lady Alice.
Yep.
With a huge fucking machine gun. And she just opens fire like a total badass.
Yep. Gives a little scan of the area. We get that vampire eye thing.
Yeah.
And then kaboom.
A boom. Yeah. Back in the basement, a bullet has flown through and it bounces off of a thing and hits Henry. And I mean, there's like a lot of traded gunfire going on upstairs and outside and everything. And the vampires are not coming out unscathed, but the bullets don't seem to do much to them.
Right.
They are not super concerned. Peter is not being helpful at all.
He's sitting.
He's just sitting.
Well, it's not a window bench, but it's a built-in bench in the wall in a corner. He's just sitting there. I think he's reading.
He makes occasional snarky comments.
Yeah.
About what's going on. And we see in the basement, Henry is having a little conversation with Sebastian. And he reveals that he doesn't feed on humans because he used to be one.
Right.
He's a vegetarian. Well, he's a non-human, I guess. I guess he's not a vegetarian.
Yeah. He's a...
What would the word be?
Right? A humanitarian?
That would...
Humanitarian?
He's a humanitarian.
Well, you can't say humanitarian. Because I think all the humanitarians out there would...
I think a humanitarian implies that he eats exclusively humans.
A human-free diet?
Sure. But the bullet, and he's digging this bullet out of himself. And I noticed, and I'm sure you noticed as well, the bullet that hit him is not, he's not healing as quickly as the other vampires do.
Right.
Henry pays a price for his diet.
Yes.
Outside, the Colonel is looking at a business card, and it's like a blue and white. It's like a beauty card or like a science-y card.
Yeah, it has it has a company name on it. I can't remember if it says cosmetics.
I can't remember.
I think it says cosmetics.
But it seems that he has some ulterior motive for what his being out here. And he asks the rosary guy if they could take just one out alive, a sample for science. And the rosary is like, no.
They're abominations.
Yeah. We're going to kill them all. And the Colonel's like, well, no, I'm in charge now.
Yeah. And
he has staged a coup to take command from Rosary, and successfully so.
Yeah. So, well, just and to make it clear, so Rosary is actually some sort of militant arm of the Vatican.
Yes.
And he's supposed to have ultimate power. The Colonel and his guys are some, rent-a-cop.
Yeah, they're grunts.
Military thing, right? They're not actually in service. They're like the A-team.
Right.
They're mercenaries for hire.
Yeah. So it looks like the soldiers kind of are closing in on the house. Angel is watching them get closer. And the vampire group, is trying to decide what to do. And they make a plan to distract, everyone go out at once. So at least one of us can get away and then circle back around and butcher all these military guys.
Right. The old standby.
Right.
Run away.
Well,
A starburst all at once. Go different directions.
I mean, it's not a terrible plan.
Well, it isn't. Not when you're surrounded like that.
Right.
And one thing we do notice is when they do get shot, like in a lot of movies, vampires, when they get shot, doesn't do anything to them, right? They're like Superman.
Right.
These, in this particular movie, I mean, the physics of a bullet impacting flesh and bone, vampire or otherwise.
It's an ouchie.
And it can screw them up, and it can slow them down a bit.
Well, yeah.
And so if you got enough bullets coming on you, they can get in over you, and boom, that could be it. So I mean, they're not the invincible vampires that we've gotten as of late.
Right.
And they were quick to realize, and I like that, if they're smart, they'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Can't do this.
And they're on a time limit as well. I mean, they can't stay there until sunrise. They have to get out before sunrise.
Well, right. And as we saw, the basement has windows,
mm-hmm.
High up, but still, where are you going to go?
Yeah. And that's kind of the military's plan, or it seems to be, is to just wait them out,
mm-hmm.
So down in the basement, Sebastian is wiggling out of his bonds in the chair.
That whole routine is awesome.
It's not very graceful, but it is effective.
It is.
And the Thatchers are asking him to help them out. So he unties the woman, and she immediately makes a break for it and ends up getting stuck in the little hatch to get out. It's like a weird little basement door.
No, that was the window.
Oh, she's trying to get out the window.
Yeah, those basement and right. It's hard.
She's a slightly rotund woman.
Right. But, and here's the thing.
And they're little windows.
Watching this, I don't know what made me think of it, but there are people who don't know what those basement windows, that there ever were basement windows, or what the word basement window is.
Right.
Most new homes
don't have them.
That I've seen for the longest, many, many years, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But it used to be in a basement, you would have, I don't know, what would that mean? Maybe 12 by 30, 12 by 24 little windows that would be just outside. They're just above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And down in the basement, when you're inside, they're like, you have to put your arms up to reach them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
The idea being it gives a little bit of light into the basement, and also it is an easy way to pump water out of the basement should water get in.
Well, and it was also a big thing because that's where the furnaces and stuff were. It was a point of egress for fire departments and, get things in and out. But in these old, like UK homes and stuff, these farm homes, they could be substantially bigger.
Right.
Just not big as a rotund
farm woman
in this case.
And Sebastian is trying to help her out by going underneath and pushing up to try and push her out. And she gets shot at because the military sees someone trying to come out of the house and they start shooting. Sebastian eventually pops her out the window, and the soldiers realize that she's a human, not a vampire. So they stop shooting, but she's trying to escape, and she does this hilarious zigzag pattern across the yard.
I thought that was awesome. What is she doing? Avoiding our bullets, I would imagine, was the response.
Right. So they're like, well, give her some motivation. So they start shooting at her feet.
Yeah.
For fun. And she eventually makes it to the military camp.
Then the soldiers take her into the woods, give her a blanket and something warm to drink. The colonel starts talking to her, getting information, trying to get information from the inside.
Right.
What's going on?
How many are there? What's.
Yeah. Back in the basement, Sebastian is having trouble untying the farmer, and he opens the refrigerator down there to get a knife.
Well, because the farmer is like, there's a knife over there, right over there, over there.
Yeah.
Right there.
And as he opens the door, we see inside of it are body parts, heads, organs, all kinds of stuff. It takes Sebastian a second.
Right.
And then he looks at the farmer, and the farmer just looks at him. It's like, what? They were here when we moved in.
Sure.
So back in the woods, they're done talking with the wife. She wants to leave, and then all of a sudden they start acting really odd. And she says she has to go to a tree to pee, and then the colonel follows her, and they go into the dark. Back inside, Sebastian will not let the farmer loose. And you can't blame him.
Right.
So they hear a gunshot, and then outside, we see the colonel coming out of the shadows alone. Says she could have been in league with them. One of the soldiers doesn't care at all for what happened. And it's the same one that we saw in the beginning. He's the first soldier we saw who was watching before all these other people showed up. But he's not excited that they just killed a civilian.
Right.
So clearly we're seeing that where this colonel stands in all this horseshit. Inside the basement, the farmer is saying that his wife was nuts. So he's trying to lay all this shit in the refrigerator on her.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Then we see the vampires start to exit the house, armed and ready for trouble, except Alice, who comes out with her walker. Back in the basement, a bullet ricochets around, and the firefight is on. Everyone's, Peter finds a motorcycle in the barn and comes crashing out of it, rolls through the soldiers. Sniper, shoots the bike. It goes down. Peter's on the run. We're back in the basement. The farmer's yelling for Sebastian to do something. Sebastian takes a bucket.
Yeah, metal bucket.
Puts it on the farmer's head. The farmer said, that's not helping at all. All of a sudden, you see a big dent in the bucket and you hear the ricochet. Ping! And the farmer says, okay, I guess it did do something. So outside, the soldiers enter the barn. And then Chen strikes. He rips through all of them. And then another one outside kills him with a crossbow. It's a pretty sweet.
It's a pretty awesome fight.
Yeah, he's just gliding and moving. He's
very Matrixy.
Yeah, he's like a wisp of badass air.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just fucking whipping around. And then, some knucklehead outside, 500-yard shot, takes him out with the crossbow. As soon as that happens, Vanessa kills the crossbow shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And then she lurks around and decides to duck into a coop inside the barn. And outside, 2 soldiers launch a rocket into the barn.
I know.
And it's funny because she's looking through the coop to the outside and she sees what they're doing. And she just smiles. And then we see the explosion. And then we see this flaming ball over here. So this flaming chicken arcs across the entire screen, high in the sky. I loved it.
Yes.
And then we have Henry and Angel are in the basement with Sebastian and the farmer now. Henry says, if anyone can do it, Alice can. Outside, soldiers are aiming at a building corner. And then out comes Alice with her walker. And they start asking if she's okay. She says she can't hear very well. And then goes on about how they did terrible things to her inside. The soldier goes up to her. Now, there's someone who's saying, stay away from her. There's always that one soldier. Stay away from her.
Yeah.
Get back. Don't get so close to her. And everyone's.
Annette Crosby is the cutest old woman.
Oh, she is. And everyone's universally disagreeing with her. And she's just, or disagreeing with, or ignoring the guy.
Right.
And she's just playing it up. It's wonderful. So she suddenly stabs him in the throat. That walker is actually comprised of hidden blades.
Yeah, like 2 cane, like
yeah,
cane
and she
blades.
just like right on each side of the throat. And then we cut back to Rosary and the colonel. Rosary says they only have 2 squads left. And then we see they have Vanessa.
Yes.
So they did catch her after the flaming chicken. And then we cut back to the soldiers and Alice. She's gone.
Oh, Alice.
And we see her broken walker and a soldier throwing dust. So she's been staked. Back in the house, Peter has joined the group in the living room. Sebastian asks why they don't just try talking to the soldiers. And Angel says they want to exterminate us. And Sebastian says, well, the soldiers are probably thinking the same thing about you. And everyone gets this like, look on their face.
Yeah.
And then Peter says he's over 2,000 years old, goes on about the wars and stuff that he's fought.
I fought with Alexander the Great.
Right, and this and that and that and this. And Sebastian says, well, that's all well and good, yeah. But what have you done lately?
Which also gives them pause.
Yeah, which I love that when it's used correctly.
Yes.
And that was used correctly. It's like, okay, so yeah, you were Genghis Khan at one point, but now you're, flipping burgers.
Right. What are you doing now?
So anyway, then they hear some screams from outside.
And we see outside the military is questioning Vanessa, and she's changed to 2 posts. The colonel tells them not to harm her in any way, but he also says to stay away from her.
Yeah, stay away from her, and don't harm her.
Right.
Right.
He wants to keep her. So Vanessa is antagonizing Rosary,
Mm-hmm.
Who I learned is LaRousse, but we'll just keep calling him Rosary.
Yeah, I think at this point in the game, it's just kind of silly.
Yeah. And he is not doing what the colonel said, right? He still somehow feels like he's kind of in charge, even though he isn't at all. And he takes a UV light and he's like running it over her face and her hands and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as he runs it over her face, it's this kind of cool effect where you can see like wrinkles almost. You can see like the face beneath the face.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of we've seen where vampires. My favorite one that they did this in was, oh, come on. It just happens every time. Shit.
Wow. While you're thinking about
anyway,
that.
well, where we see the vampire as, sexy and chiseled and all this. And then the like true form is kind of like what they did in Skyrim with the
yeah.
A
monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fright Night. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So she manages to snap at his hand, breaking the skin. And he's like, oh, shit. And another soldier is like, did you get bit? And he's like, no, it barely broke the skin. So this other soldier starts chasing him with a gun. and Rosary's like, no, I'm fine, really.
He runs off.
So out from the farmhouse comes Henry and Sebastian with a bag over his head. So Henry's walking Sebastian with a bag over his head. And they're walking up the hill to talk to the colonel. And Henry is trying to negotiate an honorable withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
And the colonel is like, I hear you. I see this. I respect it. And then he shoots Sebastian.
Yeah.
And we see Rosary is chained up now near Vanessa. And he's reciting the Lord's Prayer, but his eyes are changing. They're doing that reflective thing.
Yes.
And it doesn't look like he can control it. Like he's mid-change.
It's like happening. And his skin tone's a little different.
Yeah.
You notice? Yeah.
So they're also chaining up Henry, who says, and Henry's like pissed.
Yeah.
And he tells the colonel he's going to do something he hasn't in 600 years, which is to enjoy killing the colonel.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the woods, the soldiers are disappearing. Something is taking them out from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't hold the ridge. And they're messaging, they're, radioing to the colonel, who's like, what the fuck is going on out there?
All he gets are screams and, and then silence from each radio.
Right. So he rushes off. And we discovered that Peter was pretending to be Sebastian. He was dressed in Sebastian's clothes with like a shitload of hot water bottles to hide his cold body signature.
Yes.
So they know how the military has been, figuring out who they are and where they are. Inside, Sebastian has been hiding in a freezer. So he gets out. We see the colonel kill Rosary outside.
Mm-hmm.
And Vanessa tells Henry that it's time for him to go now. And he knows what she is,
yeah,
about to do. He's not happy about it. And Vanessa suddenly disappears into dust. Did she get staked and I missed it? Because it seemed like she just suddenly
It wasn't.
decided to die.
Well, remember she did that
Oh, yeah.
thing, which the first time we saw it, it caught me by surprise. And then afterwards, took a little while. And I remember it's a very little used part of vampire mythology, is a vampire is in control of what they are, right? They are a power. They're not a being. It's a power. Like, they always say it's the evil spirit kind of thing. They can like channel, because they're already dead. They can channel what is in them. And, in D&D is like a retributive strike.
Maybe she absorbed some of that, like rocket launcher that they launched at the coop and held it in. And Henry is pissed now. Inside, we see Sebastian, who has found Peter's suit.
Yeah.
And then we see in the woods, the first soldier that we saw, the one who's not cool with them killing humans and stuff. And he comes across Sebastian there in Peter's suit. And they kind of have this little bit of a standoff. And Sebastian's like, how about I didn't see you, you didn't see me. We're like ships in the night.
It's awesome. It's a very British thing they do in a lot of shows. They're like looking at each other. What? And they're like, what do we do now?
Right. And then we cut back to Henry, who is talking to the colonel, and the colonel is sharpening a stake.
Yeah.
And Henry is telling the colonel to just end it.
Yeah. So we cut back and we see the farmer running in, or the farmer has gotten out and he's running. He runs into the soldier in the woods. Soldier offers the same deal that he and Sebastian had.
Like, same words.
Right. The farmer goes on about paying taxes and then he pulls out a knife and kills the soldier.
Well, I love the little joke that he does there. What movie is that from? What did he? He's like, "Oh, you think that's a knife?"
Oh, Crocodile Dundee.
Yes.
Yeah. Call that a knife?
You call that a knife? Yeah.
This is a knife. Oh man. So then Sebastian has found one of the military trucks. Gets in and is looking for the keys. Angel lands on the roof. Sebastian says to let him go. Angel says she needs a ride. She can't drive in daylight. So they make a deal. They take off. Peter is talking to Henry. He asks Henry if he can have the Duke's territory. Henry says yes, if it makes him happy. And then we see the colonel crawling away. Right?
Right.
So he's
just as the colonel was going to kill Henry, Peter came up and
didn't kill him.
Right.
But put him, put him down a bit. Henry says to give him a minute and then walks after the colonel.
Right.
So then the sun is starting to come up. Peter and Henry chase after the army truck. Sebastian stops. Angel tells Sebastian he can still join them. Peter says he withdraws his objection. Sebastian says he'll think about it.
And he seems genuine. He's like, let me think. Like, can I think about it?
Right. Well, I mean, he's got all the cards. If he was going to, fuck him over, all he had to do is just like walk away because the sun's coming up.
He's their ride.
Yeah. So the three vampires get into the back of the truck and Sebastian drives off. Now it's daylight. Well, the sun's coming up and it's dawn.
Right.
But the sun hasn't actually broke the horizon. Then we see the colonel tied to the poles.
And he's shifting too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, there are women show up, 3 women in nurses' clothing, which is weird.
Very strange. Yes.
And one of them stabs him in the neck with a needle. And then we see he's a vampire. And as the sun breaks the horizon and the actual rays of the sun strike him, he bursts into flames. Then we see a cosmetic commercial for a protein-based face cream that keeps you looking young.
Yeah, it's our patented protein complex.
Right. So the Colonel had to deal with a cosmetic company to get samples from vampires to create this
anti-aging cream.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit the thing.
You hit something.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So that is Eat Locals.
Eat Locals.
There is so much about this that, again, comedies are so hard to talk about and capture the humor.
Yeah.
Because, that's the thing with comedy on film. It's movement, it's
timing, delivery,
it's dialogue, and, the actor's ability to be expressive and communicate. You can't just talk about it and make it funny. There are so many laughing points in this.
It's just delightful.
It is. It is really delightful. And it's typical UK fashion. It comes so quick and so dry. And it's wonderful.
Witty, quick, dry dialogue.
Yeah. And when you see them reaching and trying, they do it in that very obvious way, almost, purposeful.
It's tongue in cheek.
Yeah. And you can tell. It's not like, oh, that was a hit and a miss. You can tell we're going to do this bad joke, play it up.
Right. We know this is a bad one.
Yeah. Overdo it a bit.
Yeah. I love British humor.
Oh, it's wonderful.
It hits my funny bone in just the right place.
And every one of these people we've seen in so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
Peter is Detectar.
Right, from Defiance.
Defiance, which you just started watching the other night.
Yeah.
We started going through, and then we started over so Lily could go through all of it with us.
So that's Tony Curran. Rosary is Mackenzie Crook, who is in our favorite metal detectorist series.
Oh, yeah. The Detectorists, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Good old Wooden Eye, Googly Eye. And he's also in the original Office with Ricky Gervais. He plays the Dwight character.
Right.
Or the character Dwight was fashioned after. I should say it that way.
You should say it that way because,
they were first.
It was first. He was Dwight before Dwight.
Yeah. When they had that thing on towards the end when Office was winding down and they were looking for new managers and stuff, and they had Ricky Gervais show up.
Yes.
I love first when they had Michael run into him in an elevator, and then later, that was way before, and then later in the episode he interviewed for that job as,
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping at one point Mackenzie Crook would come in and have some sort of face off with Dwight over because Dwight has all these weird fucking people.
Oh, I know.
But
that would have been fun.
It would have been fun. So yeah. Everything about this movie flows.
Absolutely.
I think it has a lot to do with a good director for his debut.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it has to do with the professional familiarity of these people, these actors.
Yeah. Who've all worked with each other before.
Yep. And, there's personal familiarity.
Yeah.
Within a lot of them. You can't buy that shit.
You can't manufacture it.
You
can't force it.
No. It's not something you can write for. It's not something you can plan for. Right. Unless you're one of these people. Right.
Yeah.
But listeners, unless you're best friends with at least 3 of these folks, right? You just can't write a script and go to somebody and say, oh, yes, I want Mackenzie Crook and,
I want all these people
and Tony Curran and stuff. And then if we could get Eve Miles to pop in for the last 5 minutes, that would be awesome because that's how it's written. Yeah. They're going to be like, so you got another script? I don't even want to read this because that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And
I love Eve Miles and everything too. She's so regal.
Yeah. Well, she was also in Broadchurch.
Yeah.
She guested in that
yes.
as the dirty secret.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We still haven't seen the last season of that. It hasn't fucking landed here yet.
No.
Anyway. So Wilhelm Scream aside, everything about this thing is great. Jason Flemyng, fantastic debut. And
I was trying to shut my laptop and I bumped the mic.
I see. And then you just went for it.
I did.
I saw you gingerly, and then you're just like, ah!
Bug it. I already hit it.
Yeah, man. Bad radio.
It's good.
Bad radio.
I'm good radio.
You know what? I'm going to get posters or screenshots from all the first season Doctor Who, the reboot with Bad Wolf, and I'm gonna airbrush out Wolf. I'm gonna put in radio.
Oh God.
I'm gonna put him up here in the office. Bad radio. Bad radio. Anyway,
it's a deep pull.
The direction, even. And here's the thing, I don't think a lot of directors get a credit for this. I mean, it's not something people talk about. When people talk about directors, they always talk about their vision and how they, do this and that and that and this. Well, that's great. But you know what? Their vision is only so much. It's the fucking art department and everybody else who makes everything come together. The set builders, the, light, all that stuff. But yeah, someone has to come up with a visual to work with. But one thing they don't get a lot of credit for is wrangling the actors. I mean, we hear about it in you only hear about that like with bad directors. An actor doesn't get to go on set and then just run, right? The director tells them where to go, where to put their fucking hand, when to pick the thing up. This is what I need you to do. And it's the actor's job to do all that shit, make it look natural, and, bring the character to life through all these movements. That's why a script is all about dialogue, but you have the action lines so that you can specifically note what a character has to be doing. It's in the script, right? If you're not doing this, then this next fucking line doesn't even work. There's a reason we have all that. With all these people, we're talking about the magic cauldron of talent and familiarity and comfortable, all these things that meld. It's like any orchestra. You can have world-class musicians, but without a conductor, they're not going to sound as good.
Yeah.
Right? Someone has to set the beat. Someone has to keep them moving in a way that, through the scene. So I think all this great talent works because they've worked together, but I think Jason Flemyng clearly has a way of getting the actors, to do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my kudos would be. And the lesson from that is if beginning directors don't buy into those stories, be dictatorial. You're the storyteller. All right. They're performers. Huge difference. Okay. Here's your mark. I need you to move from here to here. I need you to be here when you say your line. And that's why they do take after take, because they're not going to be like, okay, you need to move from there to here, but take 4 seconds doing it. Because you can't do all that and count, right? So they're going to be like, okay, good, cut, another take, cut, and then you're going to get it eventually, right? They get the shot with the timing and stuff. Wrangle your people, respect their talent, but you do have to tell them what to do. You're the puppet master. Let them do their thing.
Can I talk technical? Technical?
Talk to me about technical.
Let me talk technically to you.
Yeah.
Most of this movie takes place at night. In fact, all of this movie takes place at night, except the last, minute.
Right.
I do not think that they shot this all at night. I mean, there's a lot of indoor stuff in the farmhouse, but this, if it was done day for night, is one of the best day for night, technically done, movies of this caliber that I've seen. It was not that weird blue.
Right. I think they did shoot primarily at night.
I don't know. I think maybe they did day for night because this is a $1.5 million budget movie. It's if you're doing night shoots, that's a lot of money that you could save by doing day for night. I don't know.
We'll have to dig into it.
Maybe we'll never know.
Either way, it was done well.
It was done well.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thing.
The vampire effects, I like them.
Yeah, not overdone.
Not overdone.
Really fun.
The
teeth were even really fun.
Yeah. it was a new look, not drastically new, right? But new enough that it wasn't the standard, you know. And I kind of like the teeth thing because I like the more savage vampire.
They're scary teeth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is. I'm not gonna. Yeah, this
They're
isn't.
not sexy vampire teeth.
No, they don't have two fucking canines that they just dip in and drain you like they're two tiny hypodermic needles, right? No, these are teeth that are like, I'm taking half your fucking throat out and then I'm just going to drink you.
Yeah.
You know, I like that.
They're fabulous.
I like the story.
I like it too. It's simple.
It's simple. We just want to deal with this, right? We have to have this meeting. We got to talk about some stuff. We got to handle some stuff. And then, you know, shit starts to go sideways because here comes the Vatican.
There is one fun part where they're talking about, like, they're really upset that all this has gone down because they've had their meeting. They're like, maybe we should just fucking meet on Skype next time.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God. That was so funny because Alice, right? She goes on about how she can do something on her computer now. I was like, oh, she can do the video.
Oh, yeah.
She can do the video now.
What's really funny, though, is Sebastian discovers that they're vampires because he's freaking out and he looks in the mirror and they're all gone and they're all like vanished.
Yes.
And you can see the knitting that Alice is doing just kind of like floating.
Yeah.
And hobbling in the air. So I wonder how a Skype call with vampires would look.
That has been an issue.
Would they appear on camera or is it just mirrors?
Well, see, that's just it. Is it a reflection thing? Because we have like Angel. They had like a few things about that, you know.
But I once read a thing that the reason that mirrors became part of the vampire mythos is because the back of mirrors was silvered.
Right.
Right? Not in the same way that we, you know, kind of do, is like silvered. And silver was always a part of the lore.
Right.
It's less so now. More that's more like werewolfy now.
Right.
But that was why the reflection wouldn't show up, because silver is not simpatico with, you know.
Right. And there's a lot of things with it. You know, because they're not of this world anymore. They don't cast a reflection because they're not here. They're like
right.
spirit.
Well, I had read that it originated because of the silvered part of the mirrors. Because, you know, silver refuses to show, because it's pure. It refuses to show.
Right.
And then it kind of like evolved into other things.
Right. Being human, they had a whole thing about that. Like when they went on their, you know, fucking rampages and stuff, especially in the jail.
Yeah.
Right. Video cameras caught nothing. Right. You know, they're like, you can't be, you know, don't get caught on camera and this and that because you won't show. So there's all kinds of levels. I mean, I don't know where I stand with it.
I'm just saying, if none of them would show up on a Skype call, why not just do a phone call?
It would essentially be a phone call.
Well, it would.
A Skype audio or something. But yeah, I just saying we should just Skype. So yeah, the simple story of them getting together, having to do this, military showing up. I like how Sebastian is not your typical human who was A, going to be, you know, offered to become a vampire and then B, killed for, you know, not getting voted in. He's looking to get out and get away and stuff, but through the whole thing, he doesn't turn on them.
No.
You know, like a lot that they do, right? So the victim escapes and it's like, you know, there you go. You know, he's just like, when he sees the soldier.
Not my bag, man.
Can we just pretend we didn't see each other? right? Can we just not get all wrapped up in any more shit? Just go our own way? Sure. Yeah, when Angel lands on the truck, she's like, I can't drive in the daylight. And you get the sense that he realizes she could kill him.
Yes.
But she's in a spot because she can't drive during the daylight. But he's also not like, woeful over it. Like,
no.
All right, get in the back. We come this far.
Sebastian is a very go with the flow kind of fellow,
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I live here now. I guess this is the way things are.
But overall, it was a lot of fun, and it didn't bore me.
Oh, sure.
It's that whole thing of we always talk about The Office, the Halloween party. We've mentioned it before, Stanley's like, how many vampires am I supposed to care about?
Yeah.
Right? Because of Youngblood, and we had, or not Youngblood, True Blood.
True Blood.
Just all these different things that are going on out there. And it's not saying that it's getting old. It's hard to find a fresh take on it, though. And a fresh take that's not wildly disproportionate to, it's like, this isn't even, why are you calling them vampires? It should be something completely different. You know, there isn't anything that, other than you gave them some weird teeth kind of thing. So this one does a nice job. The pacing is good. The comedy is well timed. And I say that you have to understand British movies, comedies, a little bit different than ours. The pacing's different. The way they deliver comedy is different. So if you're not into it, it's going to be kind of hard to write it.
Sure.
A lot of little funny bits in our stuff we've written in this fashion.
Yeah, our stuff's pretty dry.
Yeah, it's either dry or, a quick exchange, not a lot of long pauses. And we've seen what happens when you write a script for that. And it's Alice. Because the exchanges were supposed to be quick in some places, and it just didn't happen.
Well, you said it's Alice. I think you should clarify, because Alice was the name of a character in this
Oh, sorry.
movie.
Alice Has It Under Control.
Right.
Our horrifyingly nightmarish short film. That is still not done and may never get done. Again, longtime listeners, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
New listeners, just go back and listen from the beginning. You'll get it. I don't want to talk about it.
Just go back and listen to all 80 something. What are we at now?
This is 88.
Hot diggity.
Which technically it's labeled episode 88, but again, because I didn't know how we were going to do all this, because we had the interview before I had this all squared away in my head.
Oh, with Anton.
We did the Anton interview as a bonus. So technically this is 89.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're coming up on, should we do it on episode 99 as our 100th episode, or should we just avoid confusion?
Let's just avoid confusion.
Leave it at
we'll do it 100.
Sure.
It's confusing for me. I'm just going to go with this 88.
Okay. So, yeah, 88.
Your blueberry water is delicious.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
So, I drink a lot of water, and I also drink a lot of coffee during the day. Trying to cut down on the coffee, trying to cut down on sodas and juices and everything. And, sometimes water just gets, so we've got like Mio, that gets old. So Danny found this wonderful, cold infusion by Twinings, and, it's blueberry apple, which I love. Because my favorite juice in the world I've ever had was that one. I have the empty bottle on our kitchen windowsill.
Yeah.
When I went to Ireland, I brought it back from Ireland. Went to Ireland. I was late at night, and I went into one of the little quick shops and had this feel-good juice bottle, and it was blueberry apple. Oh my God, I was in heaven. If I could have, I'd have bought like a whole suitcase full of it and brought it back. And this is great.
Yeah.
It's potent, though.
I enjoy it. I think it's good. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit of a little tangent. This movie had a lot of little nods to other movies.
Yes.
I don't want to go through all of them, but I think
No.
a sharp-eyed film lover would catch.
Right. The Crocodile Dundee thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, it was surprising. And it wasn't overdone. It was just like, boom. And like you said, there's a lot of them. So it's
The
worth a
Shining
watch.
is referenced.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's worth watching just for that, because I think it's a good example of how to do those little homages to other films in your writing without, in your face
Yes.
kind of thing. And I call it the Disney approach, where the one thing that made The Lion King, the animated one, so huge was so many adults were into that film, right? Because there was enough adult level conversation and humor.
It's a great movie.
That if the kids don't get it, they don't care. They don't know. They don't know that they've missed something. They're just entertained, right? You know, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. The kid's not going to get what that's all about. But every one of us grown-ups was like, brilliant, Pumbaa's, impression of Taxi Driver. You talking to me? You talking to me? And then, just so many things. Anyway, this movie has a lot of them, and it's fun.
It is. It's just really charming.
It is. I mean, I guess that's like the big thing. It's across the board. It's well done. There's nothing groundbreaking to talk about other than what I talked about in the beginning. Flemyng directing this massive group of names and doing so well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just a perfect example of all of the little things that make a difference. It's a fun thing. Everything's done subtly. And that's worth something.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be over the edge, over the top. Not everything has to be rapid, in your face, all this stuff. It just, watching it for a second time was just as much fun.
I know. I'd like to watch it again.
And we probably will. It's one of those. I mean, that's the thing. When you're a writer, this is what you want to go for. You want to put something on paper that when it's finally produced and put on film, watching it after, seeing it the first time, watching it again and again, even knowing what comes up, having those moments still hit you. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen Defiance, I don't know how many fucking times, but I'm in here fiddling around and you guys are out there watching it and I hear a couple lines. I'm in here like, and then I hear Lily laughing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, it's great. She's getting it for the first time. It was like my 50th time. It's still funny.
Yeah.
It's like when I watch Local Hero, there's moments in there that make me laugh. And it's been decades seeing this thing. This has that. All these moments are wonderful. You know what's going to happen, but you still want to see it.
Yeah.
You know the joke's coming when you hear it. You're like,
yeah. Well, there's a moment in the basement where Sebastian. Well, it's when Henry and Angel have come back down, and Sebastian makes mention of Farmer Thatcher's dirty little secret.
Yeah.
And Henry's like, yeah. We choose our hosts very carefully.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like, oh yeah, you found out about that, huh?
Oh, and I was gonna go. It's a little late, but I'm gonna throw this in before we start winding it down. The whole thing about Peter masquerading as Sebastian. There's a small conversation at one point where they're talking about how the fuck did they get out? They're stuck in this. They're pinned in. They're surrounded.
Right.
And Peter says, "If we could just get out there, if one of us could get into the woods, because that is their terrain.
Oh yeah.
If they can get out into the shadows, boom, and that's exactly what Peter does. Mm-hmm. That's why they did that whole Sebastian thing to get him out. It seems clever, but I just wanted to add, there was meaning to it. That
yes,
you're like, tricksy little shit.
Yeah.
And he's doing the vampire thing, just wisps, killing people left and right. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
So, massive cast of talent.
Wonderful.
Watch this for the lessons. Watch it. I mean, you know what's going to happen. Watch it and see how well, it's done. And use that as inspiration. And more than anything, watch it because maybe they'll get enough momentum going. It's not unheard of that they'll pull films back out and put them out there.
That's true. I do also want to say this is a lesson that we have touched on in previous episodes, but we haven't touched on it in a while. This whole movie, besides like 2 scenes, takes place in one location.
Right.
It's a farmhouse and the woods around the farmhouse.
Right.
I mean, which could have all been done and probably was all done on the same location.
That can happen.
It may not have been, but I mean, it's
well, but I mean, yeah,
of.
we know in some of these instances, like the front yard will be shot with the house, and then they'll have like backyard scenes, and it was like somebody else's house across town.
Right.
Right. They just don't show the house.
Yeah.
They show it from the house perspective.
But I get the feeling with the movie of this budget that it was probably all the same location.
I mean, they always, when you get a big estate like this, there's a lot of shooting room.
That's
this
just
is
smart filmmaking.
Well, I mean, it's clearly a real farm.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't some like, Brentwood Studios.
No, this is a real farm.
Yeah. And it has real woods. And if there was a place in there to do it, because it's a dirt road, I think the third location was the train station.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can count a single location as, you've got like 200 acres. You got a lot of places to shoot.
That's highly intelligent indie filmmaking, is making the most out of like a single location that you can.
Yes. It's like, craft services for indie film, right? You get that big old, Subway or whoever, bringing, subs, right? Before everyone gets to the table, you sneak it there and cut those subsections, cut them in half. So now you've got twice the number of subs, even though they're smaller, right? Because people instinctively grab a little sub. So you say mini subs. So they grab a smaller one. You can feed more for less. Sounds like a dirty trick.
It does sound like a dirty trick.
But that's how you make a movie with no money.
0.
Or you make your money go further. $1.5 million, that's a fucking big spend in indie film.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm not saying that.
Everybody we've talked to is like,
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I think like Cliff Campbell, I don't know what I would do with $1 million.
But you have to think $1.5 million. They have all these, fairly big names.
Well, and that's the thing too. I don't know that they all got their rate.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these people are in films like this because they want money for it, right? And that's why we have like, Screen Actors
you work
Guild.
for a living.
Well, yeah, we have Screen Actors Guild. They have their version where, an actor gets paid so much regardless, right? You have to pay them this much, right? But when they're an A-list actor, they can command more. It's like, everybody wants to see me in a movie. I don't want $750 a day. I want $25 million for your movie. Okay. Because he's, that actor is going to be the one who helps bring in hundreds of millions of dollars, hopefully. But anyway, sometimes they do it for cheaper. I mean, Bill Murray has done so many movies and so many things for like next to nothing because he just loves doing that kind of shit.
Bill Murray can do whatever the fuck Bill Murray wants to do. Bill
Murray doesn't need a paycheck. He's one of the few who've been smart enough to end up where he is in life. Like, I don't need to get paid for anything I do, but I also don't want to work for free. But, that's what allows people to put him in films, like we talked about Lost in Translation. Okay. Sofia Coppola did not have a ton of money.
Right.
For that. Right. And Bill Murray's salary usually is way more than the budget for this film. So I don't know. It all depends. I can't help think that Mackenzie Crook with Detectorists, right, got all these people to come on with him and do these things for a lot less than they normally would, right?
I don't know.
Lance plays Lance on Detectorists.
Yeah.
But on Sherlock Holmes, he got more because that was a way bigger production.
That was big production. Yeah. I don't know.
The mysteries. Anyway,
that was my location.
It is location. Single location doesn't necessarily mean the living room.
Right.
But if you can have your entire production take place like on like a farm, say it's an outdoor thing like this, if you can get someone with that much real estate, literally, to sign off, you have interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Unless there's a compelling reason to do something different, bam, so much money saved.
Yeah, that's one location. Well,
with that,
you should check out our website. It's www.lordsofmisrulproductions.com.
And there we have everything you need to get wherever you need,
including our new fabulous merch store.
Yep. So we got links to the blog, the podcast, the merch store. Still working on those quote shirts. Still working on them. I wanted to. Anyway.
You want them to be good.
I want them to be good, right? So yeah, those will be coming eventually. Maybe for Christmas, people. Also, links to all of the platforms that we are on, where you can subscribe. Links to our social media. Check them out. Also YouTube, which we have just started putting audio.
We're back on YouTube.
Yeah, video of the audio.
Yeah, they're not actual videos. It's just the audio, but you can listen on YouTube.
Yeah, back on there. So just put up Toxie today. Took forever. Oh my God. See, this is why I stopped doing it, because sometimes this shit takes forever. The conversion process was pretty quick because I can just like set it up and walk away.
Yeah.
And then they email me and I download the file. 2.5 hours waiting because YouTube is like, it's taking longer to process. Please wait.
I mean, they're pretty long files, but either way.
Not really.
And you know what, friends? Whatever platform you're listening on, give us a rating and review. Please.
They're important.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, check out the people we follow and who are following us on social media. They're creatives and film lovers.
Yes.
They're podcasters, directors, actors, writers, composers, script doctors. Let's not exclude Terry.
Yeah. If we could name them all, I would do a pre-recorded thing of us just saying, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Remember we watched the number station?
Yeah.
7,
God.
3. We do a recording like that. Liam Matheson, David, Ryan, Keith. Just this long monotone.
So creepy.
And just throw it out there randomly.
Yeah.
So check all those things out. Also a link to our Patreon page. Check that out if you like what we're doing.
And you want to support us?
Become a patron. Because if you become a patron and we hit our goal, all that stuff on the merch site and everything yet to come, you don't even have to buy it. You're going to get some for free.
We will send things to you.
Yep. Go through the whole thing. I think that is it.
That about does it?
I think it does. Told them where to go, what to look at, what to buy. And lastly, don't be afraid to reach out to us, folks.
Oh, yeah. Email us. If you've done something, you want us to check it out, let us know.
Yep.
We'd love to talk to you.
2 email addresses on the website. One is for podcast, so anything related to the podcast. If it's not related to the podcast, there's one that just says info. Send it to info@lordsofmisrulproductions.com. Just click on either link. It actually really doesn't matter because, even though they're separate mailboxes, I read them the same. So reach out to us one way or another.
Or reach out on social media, whatever.
Yeah. We've had a few people do that. This will be out way later, but Miles' next episode on the Disc Dump podcast is going to be us talking about Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
We gave it away. Our Toxie one came out today, and his with us has not come out yet.
No, he said his next episode is.
But he did promo it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right.
It's not a secret.
No,
So
it's not.
go check us out on the Disc Dump podcast.
Yeah, if you haven't caught it by now or heard it, if you're just tuning in, this is your first episode. Yeah, the Disc Dump podcast with Miles Trout.
It is the Fear and Loathing episode.
And yeah.
And his other ones are wonderful. I listened to, what did I listen to today? Book of Eli, which I rented it and I never returned it. And I don't know what happened to the DVD, but I never ended up watching it. Now I kind of want to watch it because I listened to Miles talk about it.
Lucky for you, we own it.
Dope.
Yeah, because I watched it and I really liked it. It's Denzel Washington.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that's that right there is 4.5 stars. Right? If it was an Andy Warhol film where it's 170 minutes of Denzel just like sitting in front of the camera, not even looking at the camera, just like staring at shit, maybe even nodding off, I'd watch it because that's 4.5 stars. Right? And then it just goes from there.
Awesome.
So yeah, check him out. Like I said, check everybody out that you can for podcasts.
And you know what?
Yeah. We
got to preview his new podcast that is coming out. Yes. And it is dope. And we forgot to mention it in our last one.
Oh yeah.
But Miles's new podcast coming out is called Toast of the Realms. And it is a D&D actual play podcast where Miles is the dungeon master.
Mm-hmm.
And he and some of his buddies play Dungeons and Dragons. And it's pretty cool. We got to listen to the first episode because we're good buddies.
Yeah.
Because Miles is our good buddy.
He's just cool.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, B-Siders.
We love you and appreciate you.
And we will be talking to you next week.
We sure will.
All right. So until then.
Bye.
Are you going to say your name?
Oh, yeah, I guess. It's me, Danny.
I'm so sorry. Until next week, this is Jim.
And this is Danny.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.